Nobody talks about the hierarchy at a bar. Not out loud. But it exists. Every bartender knows it. Every person who has ever waited 15 minutes while someone beside them got served in under 2. They know it too. They just don't know why. The answer isn't what most people think. It has nothing to do with being attractive. Nothing to do with being loud. It doesn't belong to the most impatient person waving their hand like they're flagging down a taxi. Watch what actually happens in the 3 seconds before a bartender decides who matters. Watch what the room is already doing before anyone says a word. She arrived with her group at 11:30. 4 of them. 1 round of drinks split into 4 separate opinions. 2 of her friends immediately leaned into the bar, bodies forward, eyes scanning desperately, performing thirst. The 3rd pulled out her phone. She did none of those things. She stood back, one hand resting lightly on the counter's edge. She was already watching the bartender, not chasing him. There is a difference between a gaze that hunts and a gaze that waits. Bartenders feel it before they see it. He was pouring something amber 3 customers down when he glanced up. His eyes passed over the leaning ones. They landed on her. He had been watching the same thing play out from across the room. Not the woman. The mechanics of it. He came here often enough to have stopped being surprised by the selection. But tonight it was unusually clean to observe. The ones who didn't get served were performing urgency. They were broadcasting need. And need, in a room full of it, becomes invisible noise. Bartenders are not waiting for desperation. They are waiting for a signal they can walk toward without losing status. They want to feel like they chose you. She had given him that feeling without moving. There is a concept bartenders never explain but always practice. They call it nothing, because they have never needed to name it. But it works like this. The bar is a room full of people competing for a single finite resource. Time. Every person angling their body forward, every hand raised, every voice pitched slightly louder than necessary. All of it is the same move. And when everyone plays the same move, it cancels out. What breaks through the noise is its opposite. Stillness. Directness without aggression. Readiness without desperation. The person who looks like they have already decided what they want and is simply waiting for the world to catch up. He finally moved from the corner, not because he needed another drink. He had been watching her group for the last 20 minutes. The friends were still performing. She had been served twice. When he reached the bar, he didn't search for the bartender. He faced the counter squarely, weight settled, one hand resting open near the rail, and he opened Pocket Bar on his phone, gave the menu a single glance, then set the phone face down. Done. He already knew. When the bartender arrived, there was no pause, no scanning, no half-finished sentence. Just the order. Clean. The bartender nodded once, like they had done this before, and moved. 2 people beside him had been waiting longer. They watched this happen and said nothing. She noticed. She couldn't have explained why exactly. He hadn't done anything dramatic. No gesture that would read across the room. But he had arrived at the bar and immediately altered the gravity of the space around him, the way certain people do in ways that have no clean language. There is a kind of readiness that reads as indifference. And indifference, performed in exactly the right key, sounds like confidence. She picked up her drink, took a slow sip. Her friends were still talking. She was no longer listening. This is not a story about charm. Charm is something you perform for an audience. This is a story about calibration, about understanding that a bar, like every social room, runs on invisible signals. And most people are broadcasting the wrong frequency. The ones who get served first are not louder. They are not more attractive. They are simply readable. They have removed the noise from their own signal. The bartender doesn't experience them as need. They experience them as direction. And direction, in a room full of people pointing at nothing, is the rarest thing there is. He slid his drink 1 inch to the side, a small move, the kind that creates space on a crowded counter without asking for it. She caught the gesture. It was not an invitation. It was just room. But she took it. They stood side by side without introduction, watching the same room they had both been watching from different angles all night. The ice shifted in her glass. Outside, the rain was still going. She said something about the weight. He said he hadn't noticed one. She looked at him for a moment longer than she intended. Some things only make sense once someone says them out loud. Most things never get said at all.